Welcome, dear friends, to a calm and gentle exploration of the delightful world of Looney Tunes. Tonight, we'll drift together through 160 fascinating facts about these timeless characters that have brought laughter to generations. From their humorous antics to their unforgettable catchphrases, Looney Tunes has been a beloved part of our lives for decades. With each soft fact, we will unravel the whimsical history, the creative minds behind the animation, and the impact these characters have had on pop culture. As you settle into this peaceful space, allow the comforting familiarity of these stories to guide you into a restful night. Take a gentle breath in, and with every exhale, feel your body release any tension. Let your mind soften, drifting into this world of animated joy and nostalgia. There is no rush tonight, only the serene unfolding of Looney Tunes facts that will accompany you into a deep, soothing rest. And if you enjoy this journey through Looney Tunes, feel free to subscribe and softly share where you are listening from tonight. We are all connected here in this shared moment of quiet joy. Now let us begin our journey through 160 facts that will carry you into a peaceful slumber. Fact 1: Looney Tunes began in the early 1930s, during a time when animation was still discovering its voice, its rhythm, and its sense of play. Warner Brothers originally created the series as a way to promote their music catalog, weaving lively melodies through whimsical scenes meant to delight and amuse. But from these musical roots, something much larger began to grow: a universe of characters who carried not just humor, but warmth, charm, and personality. As you imagine those early black and white frames flickering softly on the screen, let the gentle nostalgia of a world still in creation lull you deeper into comfort. Fact 2: the name Looney Tunes was inspired by Disney's Silly Symphonies, yet rather than focusing on fairy tale sweetness, Looney Tunes developed a lively, mischievous style all its own. Instead of gentle moral stories, these shorts played with exaggerated motion, witty timing, and characters who seemed always on the brink of playful chaos. They carried a certain spark, an energy that danced like soft fireflies across the screen, and while the music guided the rhythm, it was the characters, slowly forming in the background, who began shaping the identity of the series, creating a legacy that would soothe and entertain for generations. Fact 3: the earliest Looney Tunes shorts were shaped largely by the creativity of two young animators, Hugh Harman and Rudolph Ising. They poured their love of music and movement into every frame, giving life to characters who bounced, swayed, and sang their way across the screen. Their approach created a gentle interplay between animation and melody, like a soft dance unfolding in rhythmic harmony. Though the early characters weren't yet the icons we know today, the foundation was forming an artistic language based on timing, expression, and charm. In these beginnings, the spirit of Looney Tunes found its first quiet heartbeat. Fact 4: before Bugs Bunny, before Daffy Duck, before all the stars we know, the very first recurring Looney Tunes character was Bosco, a cheerful, energetic figure whose animated world was filled with music and playful movement. Though Bosco's design reflected the animation styles of the early 1930s, his presence marked an important milestone. He showed Warner Brothers that consistent characters could shape the heart of their animated universe. As you imagine Bosco skipping along to lively tunes, allow the simplicity of those early days to soften your thoughts, reminding you how even grand worlds begin with small, humble steps. Fact 5. In those early years, animation was created entirely by hand, each frame drawn carefully and patiently, forming thousands of delicate pictures that, when brought together, created motion that felt magical. The artists worked quietly at their desks, often late into the night, letting the soft glow of their lamps light the way as characters slowly came to life under their pencils. This dedication brought warmth into every scene. When you watch an old Looney Tunes short, you're seeing the gentle labor of human hands, each stroke carrying intention and heart. Let that thought ease your mind like a soft, steady breath. Fact 6. Warner Brothers quickly realized that music could be the secret thread weaving their cartoons together. They had access to a vast library of songs, from orchestral recordings to light-hearted melodies, and animators began timing scenes directly to the rhythm of these tracks. It created a style that felt bouncy, lively, yet oddly soothing, like watching life unfold in a gentle musical dream. Even today, if you close your eyes and listen to the familiar orchestral swells of Looney Tunes, you may feel that warm nostalgia rise quietly within you, inviting your thoughts to drift softly toward rest. Fact 7. One of the earliest artistic breakthroughs came with the use of rubber hose animation, a style where characters' limbs stretched and curved with fluid, almost elastic motion. This playful softness gave Looney Tunes its distinctive charm, making every movement feel whimsical and light. Instead of rigid anatomy, characters moved like waves, bending to rhythm rather than rules. Even in its exaggerated form, the style carried a strange comfort, an invitation to relax, to let go of stiffness, and to melt into something more flexible. Imagining those gentle curves and flowing motions may help your own body loosen and unwind. Fact 8. The early Looney Tunes studio was not a glamorous place. It was often small, warm, and cluttered, filled with stacks of paper, pencils scattered across desks, and the quiet murmur of artists humming to themselves as they drew. Yet there was magic in that space, a kind of creative intimacy that shaped every cartoon. The animators shared jokes, ideas, and dreams, and their laughter often found its way subtly into the characters they brought to life. Thinking of that cozy workspace, dim lights, soft chatter, gentle creativity can bring a kind of warmth that settles your thoughts into stillness. Fact 9. Leon Schlesinger, the producer who oversaw the earliest Looney Tunes projects, had a unique gift for recognizing talent. He gathered young animators, writers, and musicians and allowed them the freedom to experiment without strict rules, trusting their instincts to guide the series forward. This freedom created a gentle environment of possibility, a space where creativity could stretch and wander like a soft breeze through open windows. The whimsical spirit that defines Looney Tunes today grew from that nurturing atmosphere, a reminder that when people are given room to dream, beautiful things begin to quietly unfold. Fact 10. As Looney Tunes evolved, its earliest episodes helped define animation timing, particularly the use of anticipation and follow through. Characters would pause softly before a movement, allowing the audience to sense it coming, then carry that energy through in a smooth, flowing arc. This gave the cartoons a graceful rhythm, like watching ripples move through water. Even the silliest jokes relied on a kind of gentle choreography, where motion unfolded with intention. This careful balance between humor and softness became a hallmark of Looney Tunes, shaping how animation would develop for decades to come. Fact 11. One of the most iconic characters to emerge from Looney Tunes was Bugs Bunny, whose distinct voice and attitude quickly made him a fan favorite. Created in 1940, Bugs was born out of the comedic genius of Tex Avery and Bob Clampett, who wanted to create a clever and cheeky character that could outsmart his opponents with charm rather than violence. Bugs's catchphrase, "Hey, what's up, Doc?" became a symbol of his laid-back confidence, making him both an unlikely hero and the ultimate trickster. With every wry smile and raised eyebrow, Bugs invites us into his world, filled with humor and effortless wit. Fact 12. Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny's foil, was born out of a different creative vision. While Bugs exuded calm coolness, Daffy was all energy and wild ambition. Introduced in 1937, Daffy was the brash, egotistical character who believed he should always be the center of attention. His exaggerated attempts to outdo everyone around him, especially Bugs, created some of the funniest moments in Looney Tunes history. Daffy's relentless pursuit of fame, fortune, and recognition led to endless hilarious scenarios, but his ultimate downfall, his own stubbornness, reminds us of the gentle humor found in self awareness and learning to laugh at oneself. Fact 13. Porky Pig, with his stammer and kind hearted nature, became one of the earliest defining characters of Looney Tunes. First appearing in 1935, Porky's role was often the voice of reason, contrasting with the madness around him. His trademark stutter, "That's all, folks," became synonymous with the closing of Looney Tunes cartoons and has lived on as one of the most beloved phrases in animation history. Porky was more than just a comic character. His sweet disposition and gentle humor made him endearing to viewers. His role in the franchise continues to evoke the comfort of simple, honest fun. Fact 14. Elmer Fudd was created as a lovable but bumbling hunter, most often seen in pursuit of Bugs Bunny. Introduced in 1940, Elmer's gentle but somewhat clueless demeanor provided the perfect contrast to Bugs's quick wit. What made Elmer unique, however, was his soft voice, which was so comforting that it almost became a calming presence in every cartoon he appeared in. Though his pursuit of Bugs was often the basis for conflict, Elmer's failures only added to the charm of his character, offering gentle humor that balanced the more zany antics of his fellow characters. Fact 15. Sylvester the Cat is one of the franchise's most endearing, if slightly overzealous, characters. Introduced in 1945, Sylvester is that ever persistent predator whose obsession with catching Tweety Bird often leads him into absurd, hilarious situations. Sylvester's complex personality, equal parts determined and clueless, made him an unforgettable presence in the Looney Tunes world. His interactions with Tweety, full of silent humor and exaggerated expressions, highlight his deeply human-like traits, especially his ability to repeatedly try, fail, and try again. Sylvester's charming resilience and mischief invite us to laugh at the little failures we all face in our daily lives. Fact 16. Tweety Bird was introduced in 1942 and quickly became one of the most iconic characters in the Looney Tunes franchise. With his high-pitched voice and adorable demeanor, Tweety often finds himself the victim of Sylvester's relentless pursuit. But beneath that innocent exterior lies a shrewd, clever bird who always manages to outsmart his would-be captor. Tweety's cute vulnerability, paired with his sneaky ability to turn the tables on Sylvester, made for some of the most entertaining and satisfying moments in Looney Tunes cartoons. His character represents the quiet strength found in unexpected places, reminding us that intelligence often wins over brute force. Fact 17: Foghorn Leghorn, the loud, boisterous rooster from the South, made his first appearance in 1946. Known for his exaggerated accent and confident attitude, Foghorn's character was based on the typical brash Southern archetype, full of humor and wit. His loud, boisterous antics made him a favorite in the series, with many of his cartoons featuring his constant battle of wits against the likes of Henry Hawk and other characters. Foghorn's catchphrases, including I say, boy, and his larger than life presence, continue to resonate, capturing the essence of comic bravado with a lighthearted, humorous tone. Fact 18: Yosemite Sam, with his fiery temper and aggressive personality, was introduced in 1945 as Bugs Bunny's primary antagonist. Often depicted as a gunslinger with a short fuse, Sam's dramatic reactions to Bugs's antics provided some of the most entertaining and intense moments in the series. Despite his over the top aggression, Yosemite Sam's character was always infused with an underlying humor. His attempts to catch or defeat Bugs Bunny were always thwarted by Bugs' cleverness, leaving viewers to marvel at the resilience of Sam's character and the timeless appeal of the classic good versus evil dynamic. Sam's presence in Looney Tunes represents the fun in exaggerated conflict. Fact 19: The beloved Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote duo made their debut in 1949 and became one of the most successful Looney Tunes pairings. Roadrunner's speed and Wile E. Coyote's never ending elaborate schemes created a series of cartoons that were both hilarious and full of absurd, slapstick humor. Wile E. Coyote's use of ACME products, all designed to catch Roadrunner, often backfired in the most spectacular ways. What made this duo unique was their almost silent performance. Roadrunner's beep beep and Coyote's actions carried the entire plot. This silence emphasized the visual humor and allowed the story to unfold with gentle, rhythmic repetition. Fact 20: Marvin the Martian made his debut in 1948 and quickly became one of the most interesting and quiet characters in the Looney Tunes universe. With his soft, calm voice, Marvin's plans for world domination were often foiled by the most unlikely of adversaries, including Bugs Bunny. Despite his serious demeanor, Marvin's interactions were often tinged with gentle humor, especially when things didn't go as planned. His signature line, "Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom," became iconic, highlighting the whimsical absurdity of his character's quiet ambition. Marvin's understated humor made him an enduring favorite. Fact 21: The early days of animation were filled with experimentation and creativity, and Looney Tunes was no exception. The animators at Warner Brothers borrowed from multiple animation techniques, blending them together to create the unique style that would define the series. Early influences like Walt Disney's Silly Symphonies and the fluid motion of Fleischer Studios' Betty Boop helped to shape Looney Tunes into a more exaggerated, faster paced, and playful style. These influences, combined with the studio's willingness to push boundaries, gave Looney Tunes its signature energy and whimsical feel, allowing the series to transcend its time and remain timeless. Fact 22: One of the most groundbreaking animation techniques introduced in Looney Tunes was the use of squash and stretch to give characters more life and movement. This technique, which stretched and compressed the character's body for comedic effect, helped to create a fluid, lively feel to the action. It made every punch, jump, and exaggerated expression feel more dynamic. As you picture Bugs stretching to avoid an anvil or Daffy ducking a pie to the face, allow yourself to feel the joy in these elastic, playful movements, a perfect reminder of how creativity bends reality into something wonderful and lighthearted. Fact 23. While most animated characters had solid bodies, Looney Tunes characters often defied the laws of physics. Characters like Elmer Fudd and Daffy Duck could stretch their limbs beyond natural limits. This constant bending of physicality became a hallmark of the series. For instance, Bugs Bunny would casually munch on a carrot while casually outwitting his enemies, his fluid, unbothered movements making even the most absurd antics seem normal. These physics defying moves allowed for scenes filled with surprise and humor, while simultaneously keeping the atmosphere light, reminding us that in Looney Tunes, the impossible was just a moment away. Fact 24. The music in Looney Tunes wasn't just background noise, it was integral to the animation itself, often guiding the characters' actions. Early animators and composers understood the deep connection between sound and movement, and so each character's action was often choreographed to the beat of a specific musical piece. This alignment between music and movement gave Looney Tunes a rhythmic, dance like quality, where each scene could be interpreted as a gentle ballet of action and sound. As you think about those early cartoons, notice how the sounds and movements would flow in a way that was both soothing and delightfully unpredictable. Fact 25. Looney Tunes introduced synchronicity between animation and sound that went far beyond just creating a pleasant background score. Composer Carl Stalling was instrumental in shaping this unique aspect of the series. His expertise in timing animation with music gave Looney Tunes its special rhythm, with sound effects and melodies often driving the narrative as much as the visuals. As Stalling's work synced with the animations, it created a dreamy, almost hypnotic flow to the cartoons. This delicate balance between music and movement offered viewers not only laughter, but a kind of soft, subconscious engagement with the storytelling. Fact 26. Many Looney Tunes characters, like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, were designed with anthropomorphism in mind. They were not just animals, they were characters with human like traits, emotions, and attitudes. This gave them the ability to not only speak, but to express complex feelings such as frustration, joy, and even love, which made them relatable to audiences. Bugs's casual bravado or Daffy's desperate schemes gave the characters an emotional depth that allowed viewers to connect with them on a deeper level. It was this emotional connection, combined with their zany antics, that made these characters so unforgettable. Fact 27. In the 1940s, the animation industry was evolving rapidly, and Looney Tunes was at the forefront of adopting technological innovations. One key development was the use of Technicolor, which allowed the vibrant personalities of characters like Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd to leap off the screen in ways they never had before. These bright, bold colors became a signature feature of the series, making every scene feel more alive, more vivid. Imagine the pop of Bugs's orange fur, the vibrant green of the background, and the lush tones of the landscapes. They created a world that was both visually striking and inviting. Fact 28. The timing and pacing of Looney Tunes cartoons were like nothing audiences had ever seen before, thanks to the influence of animators like Tex Avery, who brought a rapid fire pace to the series. The jokes and visual gags were delivered with a fast, rhythmic quality. The sharp transitions between scenes and quick witted humor set a new standard for comedic timing in animation. The pacing kept viewers on their toes, always ready for the next surprising twist. As you imagine the crisp edits and timing, allow your own rhythm to slow, like the quiet beat between each gag, peacefully rolling forward. Fact 29. Looney Tunes' influence extended far beyond its original run, impacting not only later animation, but also popular culture itself. In the decades since its debut, Looney Tunes characters became the face of much of American entertainment, with their catchphrases and antics becoming embedded in everyday language. Bugs Bunny's famous line, "What's up, Doc?" has endured as a pop culture staple, while Daffy Duck's "You're Despicable" remains a comedic classic. These characters and their phrases are so deeply ingrained in the collective consciousness that they still surface today, like old friends greeting us with warm familiarity. Fact 30. One of the defining aspects of Looney Tunes is its use of visual puns and gags, which allowed it to transcend language barriers and be understood worldwide. The absurdity of the characters' actions and the silly humor they conveyed could be enjoyed no matter where someone was from. Whether it was the slapstick of Daffy's exaggerated facial expressions or the way Bugs Bunny cleverly outsmarted his foes, the comedic genius of Looney Tunes could make anyone laugh, no matter their background. The series showed that humor is a universal language, and that laughter, at its core, is a deeply comforting, shared experience. Fact 31. One of the most magical elements of Looney Tunes is its unforgettable voice acting, which gave life to characters in ways that transcended the animation itself. Mel Blanc, known as the Man of a Thousand Voices, was the voice behind nearly every major Looney Tunes character, including Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and Elmer Fudd. Blanc's ability to seamlessly switch between characters with such distinct voices is nothing short of remarkable. The sounds of his voices, whether it was the confident drawl of Bugs or the squeaky stammer of Porky, became woven into the fabric of these characters, filling them with personality and charm. Fact 32. Blanc's iconic work as the voice of Bugs Bunny started in 1940, and his performance captured the spirit of the character perfectly. Bugs's laid-back attitude and sharp wit were perfectly embodied by Blanc's smooth, cool delivery, particularly the famous catchphrase, "Hey, what's up, Doc?" It was this voice that turned Bugs from a simple character into a symbol of irreverence and humor. Blanc's ability to maintain Bugs' easygoing demeanor while still infusing him with cleverness made the character relatable and lovable, keeping Bugs a firm favorite in the hearts of viewers, even decades later. Fact 33. In addition to Bugs, Daffy Duck was another character that benefited from Mel Blanc's incredible range. Daffy, with his high-pitched, frantic voice, became the perfect foil to Bugs Bunny's calm and collected nature. Blanc imbued Daffy with an exaggerated, self-important air that created both humor and sympathy in equal measure. Daffy's endless attempts to prove his superiority to Bugs Bunny always ended in hilarious failure, and his voice was key to selling this humor. Blanc's ability to capture the essence of such an over-the-top character brought Daffy to life in a way that was both funny and endearing. Fact 34. Another character who benefited from Blanc's voice acting was Porky Pig, whose stammer became one of the most memorable aspects of his character. Blanc's portrayal of Porky was marked by his ability to convey vulnerability and sweetness while maintaining the character's charm. Porky's stammer, that's all, folks, was used as the iconic sign off in many Looney Tunes cartoons, marking the end of each short with a soft, familiar note. Blanc's performance imbued Porky with warmth, creating a character who was simultaneously comedic, lovable, and relatable, even in his moments of failure and frustration. Fact 35: the character of Elmer Fudd, the bumbling hunter always chasing after Bugs Bunny, was brought to life by Blanc as well. Blanc's portrayal of Elmer, with his soft, somewhat slow voice, perfectly complemented his character's determined yet hapless nature. Elmer's misadventures in hunting Bugs Bunny were the perfect backdrop for the gentle humor that Looney Tunes is known for. Blanc's nuanced performance as Elmer gave the character a charming quality. His frustrations and failures were always met with a soft laugh, reminding us of how humor often comes from perseverance, even in the face of constant defeat. Fact 30: the voice of Foghorn Leghorn was a standout performance in Looney Tunes, provided by legendary voice actor Mel Blanc. With his loud, brash Southern accent, Foghorn quickly became one of the franchise's most recognizable characters. His exaggerated speech patterns and humorous one-liners made him an instant classic. The character's voice, a perfect balance of bravado and bumbling idiocy, added a layer of warmth and humor to every scene. Foghorn's boisterous personality was amplified by Blanc's distinct voice acting, capturing the essence of Southern charm and comic overconfidence in a way that continues to entertain audiences today. Fact 37: Looney Tunes' Sylvester the Cat was another of Blanc's standout performances. Sylvester, with his gravelly voice, was the perfect foil to his constant failure in capturing Tweety Bird. Blanc brought Sylvester's frustration to life, his voice dripping with sarcasm and determination. Sylvester's mix of bumbling incompetence and desire for triumph added an extra layer of depth to the character. It was Blanc's distinctive voice, filled with both desperation and charm, that made Sylvester a lovable villain, continuously trying and failing to catch the elusive Tweety. Sylvester's character felt relatable, reminding viewers of the fun in relentless perseverance. He was 38. Blanc also gave life to the character of Yosemite Sam, whose deep voice and fiery temper made him a perfect foil to Bugs Bunny. Sam was a tough, no-nonsense character, constantly enraged and ready for a fight. Blanc's ability to channel Yosemite Sam's angry, larger-than-life persona helped solidify the character as one of the most memorable in the Looney Tunes universe. The contrast between Sam's fury and Bugs's calm wit was a dynamic that carried the humor of their interactions. Blanc's voice acting provided the perfect balance of intensity and absurdity, elevating the character's comic appeal. Fact 39: Tweety Bird was another iconic character given voice by Mel Blanc, though the sound of Tweety's voice was completely different from the others. Tweety's high-pitched, baby-like tone made him instantly endearing, and Blanc's soft, almost musical delivery gave the character a sweetness that contrasted with Sylvester's more abrasive voice. Tweety's voice conveyed innocence, which was often at odds with the cleverness he used to evade Sylvester's attempts to catch him. This gentle voice, paired with Tweety's slyness, added a layer of depth to the character, making Tweety both lovable and surprisingly crafty in his own quiet way. Fact 40. The voice acting talent behind Marvin the Martian was also Mel Blanc, who gave the character his soft, calm, and somewhat effeminate voice. Marvin's voice was far removed from the brashness of other characters, offering a contrast that made him both humorous and strangely endearing. His soft spoken nature and deep voice made him stand out among the louder, more bombastic characters in Looney Tunes. Marvin's unassuming tone, combined with his big ideas for world domination, created a humorous dynamic, highlighting how Blanc's subtle voice choices could turn even the most serious characters into comedic gold. Fact 41. Bugs Bunny, one of the most beloved characters in Looney Tunes, underwent a significant evolution from his early appearances to the character we recognize today. Initially, Bugs was introduced in the 1940 cartoon A Wild Hare. In these early moments, Bugs was depicted as more of a mischievous trickster than the cool, confident character we know today. His casual, cool demeanor grew over time, thanks to the development of his distinct voice and personality. Bugs's shift from a simple prankster to the clever, relaxed figure was a product of his growing relationship with his audience, who found solace in his nonchalant attitude. Fact 42. Bugs Bunny's signature catchphrase, "Hey, what's up, Doc?" became one of the most iconic lines in animation history. The phrase was first used in A Wild Hare and quickly became a staple in Bugs's interactions. The casual delivery of the line, often said as Bugs chewed on a carrot, gave the character an air of relaxed confidence, a stark contrast to his over-the-top adversaries. The simplicity of the phrase made it easy to remember, and it perfectly encapsulated Bugs's unbothered attitude in the face of chaotic situations. This catchphrase helped cement his place as one of the most famous animated characters of all time. 43. Bugs Bunny's iconic carrot chewing was more than just a quirky character trait. It became an essential part of his visual personality. The image of Bugs calmly munching on a carrot as he outsmarts his adversaries is a symbol of his cool, unruffled nature. This simple act, chewing and savoring, was often juxtaposed with high energy chase scenes or chaotic moments, adding a comedic element that softened the tension. The carrot, in many ways, became Bugs's constant companion, helping define his nonchalant, laid-back approach to any problem, no matter how outrageous. Fact 44. Bugs Bunny's relationship with his adversaries, like Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd, and Yosemite Sam, was central to his character's development. Bugs didn't just outwit his enemies, he did so with charm and wit, often turning their aggression into opportunities for humor. For instance, his playful back and forth with Daffy, in which Bugs would slyly avoid Daffy's attempts to steal the spotlight, became a defining feature of his character. Bugs was never aggressive, rather, his calm intelligence allowed him to foil even the most determined foes, making him an endearing figure to all viewers. Fact 45. The animation style of Bugs Bunny is a testament to the innovation of the Warner Brothers animation team. Bugs, with his fluid movements and expressive gestures, often seemed to bend the rules of reality. His character design was deliberately exaggerated, with his large, expressive eyes and long, floppy ears contributing to his comedic appearance. These visual elements, paired with his charming personality, made Bugs instantly recognizable and allowed him to convey a wide range of emotions, from mischievous glee to defiant smugness. The animation style allowed Bugs to transcend the screen, becoming a timeless figure of animation. Fact 46: Bugs Bunny's voice, as portrayed by Mel Blanc, contributed significantly to his popularity. Blanc's performance captured the essence of Bugs' character: relaxed, confident, and ever so clever. Blanc's voice for Bugs was smooth and unhurried, delivering every line with perfect timing. This distinctive voice became as iconic as the character himself, with the combination of Blanc's vocal talent and the animation giving Bugs a unique presence. Bugs's voice exuded a quiet coolness, one that made him universally appealing, whether he was outsmarting Elmer Fudd or navigating the absurdity of a given situation. Fact 47: Bugs Bunny's unique relationship with his audience was another key factor in his success. He often broke the fourth wall and directly engaged with the viewers. This technique not only made Bugs seem more relatable, but also allowed him to speak directly to the audience, creating a sense of camaraderie. In many cartoons, Bugs would give a knowing wink or a sly smile to the viewers, acknowledging their presence. This interaction made Bugs feel more like a friend than just a character, endearing him to generations of fans and further cementing his place in popular culture. Fact 48: The introduction of Bugs Bunny's character in feature films further solidified his place in animation history. Although Bugs first gained fame through short films, his presence in full length films allowed him to evolve into a larger than life character. His ability to hold his own alongside other popular animated figures, such as Porky Pig and Daffy Duck, in feature films like Space Jam and Looney Tunes, back in action, proved that Bugs's appeal wasn't just limited to short cartoons. His transition into major motion pictures kept him relevant in the changing world of animation, demonstrating his lasting power in the entertainment industry. Fact 49: Bugs Bunny's cultural influence cannot be overstated. As an animated figure, Bugs has appeared in countless references in pop culture, from television to movies and even music. His voice, his catchphrases, and his overall persona have been parodied, celebrated, and referenced by a wide variety of artists and entertainers. From The Simpsons to rap music, Bugs has made his mark as an influential cultural icon. His ability to transcend generations, remaining relevant and loved by fans of all ages, reflects the timeless nature of his character. Bugs Bunny's status as an icon has only grown over the years. Fact 50: The legacy of Bugs Bunny continues to this day, with the character still appearing in modern Looney Tunes projects, including new cartoons, video games, and merchandise. Bugs' influence on animation is profound, with many modern animated characters borrowing elements from his laid back attitude, wit, and cleverness. The continued success of Bugs Bunny in the 21st century proves that his appeal is far from fading. Whether in a classic cartoon or a contemporary project, Bugs remains a central figure, a reminder of the enduring charm of Looney Tunes. His legacy is a lasting testament to the power of animation to shape popular culture. Fact 51: Daffy Duck, who made his debut in 1937, quickly became one of the most iconic characters in the Looney Tunes universe. His character was initially designed as a foil to Porky Pig in the early cartoons, but it wasn't long before Daffy evolved into a distinct personality. Daffy's character was driven by an intense desire for fame, fortune, and recognition, often leading him into absurd and comically tragic situations. His exaggerated self importance and relentless drive for attention made him a perfect counterpart to Bugs Bunny's cool, laid back demeanor. Daffy's comedic failures only endeared him to audiences more, showcasing that even the most determined efforts often lead to humor. Fact 52: Daffy's relationship with Bugs Bunny was central to his development as a character. Initially, Daffy was depicted as a completely different kind of character, more of a self absorbed, selfish duck. However, as the series progressed, it became clear that Bugs's laid back, clever wit would always outsmart Daffy's frenetic energy and ego. The dynamic between the two, Bugs' calm and collected nature contrasting with Daffy's wild ambition, became one of the defining features of Looney Tunes. Their interactions highlighted the humor in both characters, Bugs's cleverness and Daffy's never-ending need for validation, which made for endless comedic moments. Fact 53: Daffy's iconic catchphrase, "You're despicable," became an enduring line in the Looney Tunes series, perfectly encapsulating his frustrated, self-important character. Often directed at Bugs Bunny, Daffy's angry outbursts were a combination of his inflated ego and the constant failures he faced. The phrase became so recognizable that it became synonymous with Daffy's entire character arc. No matter how much he tried to one-up Bugs or others, he was always left in the dust, his frustrations growing louder with every setback. This catchphrase, filled with both anger and comedy, has endured as one of the most famous lines in animation history. Fact 54: Despite Daffy's tendency to be self-centered and sometimes overbearing, there was a deeper layer to his character that resonated with audiences. As much as he craved the spotlight, Daffy's emotional vulnerability and his ever-present need for validation created a character who, in his way, was relatable. His wild schemes to prove his worth often backfired, but that only made him more lovable. The character's evolution from a villainous foil to a beloved anti-hero reflected the complexity of his personality, showing that even in his failures, there was a soft, human-like quality that made Daffy both pitiable and endearing. Fact 55: Daffy Duck's character design was part of what made him stand out in the early days of animation. His long, slender body and large beak gave him an exaggerated, almost comical appearance, while his wide eyes reflected his often frantic and exaggerated emotions. Daffy's design was simple but effective in conveying his personality. He was eager, ambitious, and never quite comfortable with the world around him. His movements, often erratic and exaggerated, added to the humor of his character, making him appear both comically awkward and determined. This visual portrayal helped make Daffy a memorable character in the animation world. Fact 56: Daffy Duck was one of the first Looney Tunes characters to be given a significant amount of personality development. Initially, many animated characters were relatively one-dimensional, but Daffy's evolution into a more complex figure marked a shift in how animation could explore character development. Over time, Daffy's motivations, flaws, and desires were explored in ways that allowed him to be more than just a comedic foil. His pursuit of fame, wealth, and attention became a running theme throughout his cartoons, and his development reflected a deeper narrative that went beyond simple slapstick humor. Fact 57: Daffy's role as the straight man to Bugs Bunny's wit was pivotal in shaping his character. Although Bugs was often the one who outsmarted Daffy, their dynamic allowed Daffy's character to shine in a unique way. Bugs's calm and collected demeanor played off Daffy's wild energy, creating a balanced relationship that was both comedic and relatable. Daffy's constant thwarting at the hands of Bugs highlighted the contrast between their personalities, with Daffy's exaggerated flaws playing into the larger comedic tension. This dynamic would go on to become one of the most iconic and beloved aspects of Looney Tunes. Fact 58: one of the most memorable aspects of Daffy Duck's character was his ability to turn every minor setback into a major, often over the top catastrophe. Whether it was failing to win a trophy or losing out on the attention he so desperately sought, Daffy's exaggerated reactions and self pity became a hallmark of his humor. This dynamic also worked to endear him to audiences who saw in his outbursts both comedy and a kind of tragicomedy. Daffy's constant failures were not just funny, but they also made him relatable, highlighting the universal experience of striving for something and failing only to get back up again. Fact 59: Daffy Duck's voice, also provided by Mel Blanc, was a crucial part of his character's appeal. Blanc's unique vocal performance for Daffy captured the character's frantic, manic energy, adding an extra layer to his wild personality. The distinct, raspy voice gave Daffy his memorable charm, amplifying his exaggerated emotions and adding to the humor. Whether Daffy was screaming in frustration or muttering to himself, Blanc's vocal performance brought Daffy to life in a way that was both funny and endearing. His voice became synonymous with the character's personality, making Daffy instantly recognizable to audiences around the world. Fact 60: the cultural impact of Daffy Duck extends far beyond his appearances in Looney Tunes cartoons. Over the years, Daffy's character has appeared in countless references in popular culture, including television shows, movies, and music. His catchphrases and character traits have been parodied and paid homage to by countless artists and entertainers. Daffy's influence is a testament to his universal appeal, as his pursuit of fame and validation continues to resonate with audiences across generations. His presence in the world of animation remains strong, showcasing his enduring relevance as a character who continues to make audiences laugh, even after all these years. Fact 61: Porky Pig, introduced in 1935, is one of the original stars of Looney Tunes and has remained a beloved character throughout the decades. Initially, Porky was a more subdued character compared to others like Daffy and Bugs. However, over time, his character evolved into a symbol of resilience and determination, often serving as the straight man in many of the cartoons. What made Porky so appealing was his vulnerability. His stutter, combined with his earnest efforts, made him a relatable figure for audiences. He was, in many ways, the heart of Looney Tunes, providing a grounding presence in the midst of all the chaos. Fact 62: Porky's distinctive stammer became one of his most defining features, and while it could have been seen as a flaw, it instead added a unique charm to his character. His stutter was never a source of ridicule. Instead, it made him endearing. Audiences found themselves rooting for Porky, who, despite his speech impediment, often managed to navigate difficult situations with persistence and kindness. The way he would stutter out his lines, particularly his famous catchphrase, that's all, folks, became an iconic part of Looney Tunes' legacy, closing each episode on a note of warmth and familiarity. Fact 63: Porky Pig's evolution in Looney Tunes also reflected the changing landscape of animation during the 1930s and 1940s. Initially, Porky's role was more subdued, serving as a foil to the more boisterous characters, like Daffy and Bugs. However, as the series progressed, Porky took on more prominent roles and became a central figure in many cartoons. His character growth mirrored the broader evolution of animation, as cartoons began to feature more complex, multidimensional characters. Porky's transformation from a sidekick to a leading character helped pave the way for the development of other beloved animated personalities. Fact 64: Porky's role as a comic foil was an essential part of his character's development. While he wasn't as wild or unpredictable as Daffy or Bugs, Porky's calm and often serious demeanor contrasted sharply with the zany antics of his counterparts. He provided a balance to the more outrageous characters in Looney Tunes, creating a harmonious dynamic that enhanced the humor of the cartoons. Porky's straightforward nature often made his reactions to the absurd situations around him even funnier, as his attempts to maintain composure in the face of chaos were always met with some kind of humorous mishap. Fact 65: In addition to being a regular character in Looney Tunes shorts, Porky Pig also appeared in feature films, which helped expand his influence and popularity. His role in full length cartoons allowed for more character development and gave audiences the opportunity to see different sides of him. Porky's voice, provided by Mel Blanc, became synonymous with his character, and his stammered lines were part of the charm that made him stand out. As animation evolved, Porky remained a constant presence, showing the lasting appeal of his character and the versatility of his role in both short and long form media. Fact 66: Porky Pig's catchphrase, "That's all, folks," became one of the most iconic closing lines in animation history. Used at the end of most Looney Tunes cartoons, this simple line became synonymous with the series itself. Porky's stammer, when combined with the phrase, created a warm, familiar closing moment for viewers, signaling the end of the cartoon with a comforting, almost nostalgic finality. Over time, this line became more than just a catchphrase. It became a symbol of Looney Tunes as a whole, encapsulating the lighthearted humor and heartwarming nature of the series. Fact 67: Porky Pig's influence on future characters was far reaching. His stammer, vulnerability, and sincerity helped establish the archetype of the lovable loser in animation, a trope that would influence many characters in the years to come. From Charlie Brown to characters in modern animated series, Porky's blend of humor and heart set a precedent for characters who were not defined by their flaws, but by how they dealt with them. His ability to remain endearing despite his shortcomings made him a timeless character, beloved by audiences of all ages, and a key figure in the history of animated television. Fact 68: Porky Pig's character was also significant because he was one of the first truly relatable characters in animation. While many animated characters were drawn with exaggerated, over the top traits, Porky was much more grounded in reality. His flaws, like his stammer, made him feel human. He wasn't perfect, but he was kind, determined, and always trying his best. This relatability is what made Porky so appealing to audiences who could identify with his struggles and root for him. Porky was a character who proved that imperfection was not a barrier to being lovable or successful. Fact 69: Porky's friendship with Daffy Duck was a key element of his character's growth. While Daffy was brash and self centered, Porky's quiet, more thoughtful nature provided a perfect counterbalance to Daffy's wild antics. The contrast between the two made their interactions both comedic and heartwarming. Although Porky was often the more sensible character, his relationship with Daffy allowed him to showcase his comedic timing and sensitivity, often acting as the straight man in their dynamic. This friendship also highlighted Porky's ability to adapt to different situations, whether he was playing the foil or taking the lead. Fact 70. In addition to being a character in cartoons, Porky Pig's image appeared on various forms of merchandise and promotional material, further cementing his place as a pop culture icon. From comic books to plush toys and advertisements, Porky's likeness became one of the most recognizable faces of Looney Tunes. His simple, approachable design and heartfelt personality made him a favorite among fans of all ages. Over time, Porky became more than just a cartoon character. He became a symbol of nostalgia and warmth, reminding fans of the timeless appeal of Looney Tunes and the enduring power of animated characters. Fact 71. Elmer Fudd, one of the most recognizable and endearing characters in Looney Tunes, made his debut in 1940. He was introduced as a hunter chasing after Bugs Bunny, but over time, Elmer became more than just an antagonist. His lovable, bumbling nature allowed him to be the perfect foil for Bug's clever, laid-back character. Elmer's misadventures in trying to capture Bugs Bunny, coupled with his gentle voice and persistent nature, created a unique comedic dynamic. His character became defined not by his failures, but by his determination, which made him an essential part of the Looney Tunes world. Fact 72. Elmer Fudd's distinct voice became one of his most iconic traits. Provided by Mel Blanc, Elmer's voice was characterized by a soft, lisping quality that made him sound endearing rather than threatening. This voice choice added to Elmer's charm, as he was not portrayed as a truly menacing character, but rather as a well-meaning, albeit misguided figure. His attempts to catch bugs were always met with failure, but his persistence made him a lovable character. Elmer's voice, gentle and somewhat naive, helped create a perfect comedic contrast to the more confident and cunning Bugs Bunny. Fact 73. Elmer Fudd was often depicted as the villain in Looney Tunes, but his character was never truly sinister. Unlike other animated villains, who were designed to be threatening, Elmer's persona was more about harmless persistence. His love for hunting, particularly his obsession with catching Bugs Bunny, became a central theme in many Looney Tunes cartoons. However, despite his repeated failures, Elmer never gave up. This tireless pursuit of his goals, despite constant defeat, made him relatable and even sympathetic to audiences. His character showed that even when things don't go as planned, perseverance is something to admire. Fact 74. One of Elmer Fudd's most memorable attributes is his hatred for Wobbits, particularly Bugs Bunny. In fact, the most iconic scenes of their interactions revolve around Elmer's repeated attempts to trap or shoot bugs, only to be outwitted by the clever rabbit. Elmer's blind devotion to catching bugs was the driving force behind many of their encounters, which often ended in chaos and slapstick humor. While Elmer's obsession with bugs made him seem aggressive at times, his gentleness and good-natured spirit always shone through, keeping him a lovable, if misguided, character. Fact 75. Despite being known primarily as Bugs Bunny's pursuer, Elmer Fudd's range of roles in Looney Tunes cartoons extended beyond just being the foil. In several cartoons, Elmer was portrayed as a more empathetic character, like in the short What's Opera doc, where his pursuit of bugs was framed in a comical yet emotional context. In these stories, Elmer was more than just the bumbling hunter. He was a character with his own desires and motivations. These variations in Elmer's character made him more multidimensional, showing that he was capable of more than just chasing after bugs. Fact 76: Elmer's love of opera and classical music also became a defining feature of his character in certain cartoons, particularly in the aforementioned What's Opera doc. This 1957 cartoon is considered a masterpiece, blending Looney Tunes humor with the grandeur of Wagnerian opera. In this short, Elmer takes on the role of a valiant warrior trying to win the heart of his beloved, Bugs Bunny, showcasing his more serious side, albeit through a comedic lens. Elmer's role in this parody of opera not only showcased the character's versatility, but also highlighted the ability of Looney Tunes to blend high culture with slapstick humor. Fact 77: Elmer Fudd's relationship with Bugs Bunny is one of the most iconic duos in animation history. While their dynamic could easily have been one sided, Bugs outsmarting Elmer at every turn, it evolved into a more complex, almost endearing rivalry. Bugs's clever tricks contrasted with Elmer's relentless pursuit, but over time, their interactions became less about true malice and more about the comedy of their mismatched personalities. Bugs would often taunt Elmer, but he never sought to truly harm him. This quirky dynamic created a sense of camaraderie between the two, making their interactions feel like a playful back and forth. Fact 78: Elmer Fudd's unique speech impediment, where he famously pronounces R sounds as W, became one of his most recognizable features. This speech pattern was both charming and comedic, adding a layer of vulnerability to his character. Elmer's soft spoken nature, combined with his inability to pronounce certain words correctly, made him stand out from other animated characters. His mispronunciations often added a humorous touch to his lines, but they also made him seem more endearing and approachable. This feature of his speech became one of the key elements that audiences loved about him, further solidifying his place in animation history. Fact 79: Elmer Fudd's character design, with his round face, small eyes, and exaggerated features, made him one of the more visually distinctive characters in Looney Tunes. His design emphasized his gentle, sometimes comical nature, contrasting with his often aggressive role as a hunter. The visual design, coupled with his soft voice and bumbling personality, created a perfect balance of comedic elements. Elmer's physical design played a significant role in making him relatable to audiences. His round, soft features made him appear harmless, and his childlike innocence became part of his charm, even as he pursued Bugs Bunny. Or Fact 80: Despite being a regular antagonist, Elmer Fudd became a beloved figure in Looney Tunes due to his simple, almost innocent desire to capture Bugs Bunny. While Elmer's endless failures were a source of comedy, they also highlighted his resilience and unwavering spirit. His ability to keep trying, no matter how many times he was outsmarted, endeared him to viewers. This sense of determination, mixed with his genuine nature, allowed Elmer to transcend his role as a mere antagonist and become a core character in Looney Tunes, demonstrating the power of persistence and the humor in human flaws. Fact 81: Tweety Bird made his debut in 1942 and quickly became one of the most iconic characters in Looney Tunes. With his high pitched voice and adorable appearance, Tweety seemed harmless and sweet at first glance. However, Tweety's ability to outsmart Sylvester the cat, his would be captor, revealed that there was more to the character than just cuteness. Despite his small size, Tweety demonstrated an intelligence and cunning that allowed him to evade Sylvester's endless attempts to catch him. His gentle demeanor, combined with his surprising cleverness, made Tweety a beloved character in the Looney Tunes universe. Fact 82. Tweety's relationship with Sylvester was the foundation of many of the classic Looney Tunes cartoons. Sylvester, the ever persistent and bumbling cat, was often shown to be more of a threat to himself than to Tweety. His elaborate schemes to catch Tweety were always thwarted by the bird's wit and quick thinking. Tweety, though seemingly innocent and naive, was always several steps ahead of Sylvester, which made their dynamic so entertaining. The contrast between Sylvester's aggression and Tweety's calm, strategic avoidance created a comedic tension that was central to their partnership in the series. Fact 83. Sylvester the cat, voiced by Mel Blanc, became one of the most memorable characters in Looney Tunes history. Known for his deep, gravelly voice, Sylvester's obsession with catching Tweety Bird made him a staple of many classic cartoons. His bumbling, over the top attempts to capture Tweety often led to hilarious slapstick failures, but it was Sylvester's persistence that made him both a tragic and comedic character. His mix of determination and ineptitude endeared him to audiences, making his role in the cartoons essential. Sylvester's visual expressions, from his wide eyed frustration to his exaggerated gestures, contributed to the humor of each scene. Fact 84. Sylvester's physical appearance, with his lanky body and distinctive white fur around his neck, was designed to emphasize his quirky personality. His exaggerated facial expressions, including his constant frown and exaggerated eyes, allowed his character to convey a range of emotions, from frustration to surprise. This visual design made Sylvester not just a cat trying to catch a bird, but a character who could communicate with just a look. His somewhat gangly appearance, coupled with his determination to catch Tweety, made him a comically tragic figure whose failures were as much a part of his charm as his persistence. Fact 85. One of the most iconic elements of Tweety's design is his high pitched, baby like voice, which helped solidify his character's innocent and playful persona. Voiced by Mel Blanc as well, Tweety's voice contrasted sharply with his actions. Despite his soft tone, Tweety was incredibly clever and resourceful. His soft, melodic voice, combined with his cunning and ability to outwit his enemies, made Tweety a unique and endearing character. It also added an element of humor, as his sweet voice would often belay the cleverness or cheekiness that was hidden beneath his innocent exterior. Fact 86. The dynamic between Tweety and Sylvester was also a clever commentary on the cat and mouse trope that had been a staple of animation for years. However, the twist in Looney Tunes was that Tweety, the bird, was just as capable of outsmarting Sylvester, the much larger and more physically imposing cat. This shift in the classic formula, where the underdog could outwit the stronger adversary, added a layer of depth to the cartoons. Tweety's triumphs, while often framed as humorous, also subtly communicated the message that intelligence and resourcefulness could overcome brute strength. Fact 87. In many of the Tweety and Sylvester cartoons, Sylvester's frustration was a key driver of the comedy. While Tweety was often depicted as calm and collected, Sylvester was the one constantly losing his temper, which added to the humor. His exaggerated emotional reactions, from growls of frustration to explosive outbursts, contrasted with Tweety's serene demeanor. These moments of comic frustration created a rhythmic pacing in the cartoons, as Sylvester's anger would build up, only to be released in a hilarious and inevitable failure. This dynamic between the characters allowed for a consistent source of comedic tension throughout their interactions. Fact 88: one of the most enduring gags in the Tweety and Sylvester cartoons is Sylvester's repeated use of elaborate traps and schemes to capture Tweety, all of which end in disaster. Whether it was using a fishing pole to snare Tweety, setting up an elaborate cage, or employing complex machinery, Sylvester's attempts were always thwarted by Tweety's quick thinking and cleverness. These traps, which often seemed incredibly intricate, only served to emphasize Sylvester's bumbling incompetence. The elaborate setups and inevitable failures became one of the defining features of their cartoons, providing both slapstick humor and a sense of predictability that made the audience laugh every time. Fact 89: Tweety and Sylvester's role in the Looney Tunes universe went beyond just being the stars of their own cartoons. They were frequently featured alongside other iconic characters, such as Bugs Bunny and Porky Pig, in ensemble pieces where their antics could be combined with those of other beloved characters. This allowed Tweety and Sylvester to interact with other personalities, creating unique dynamics and adding even more layers of humor to the series. Their collaborations with characters like Bugs and Daffy helped cement their status as mainstays in Looney Tunes, showing their ability to fit seamlessly into different comedic setups. Fact 90: as the Looney Tunes franchise grew, Tweety and Sylvester's popularity continued to soar, and their enduring appeal led to numerous television shows, merchandise, and appearances in feature films. Their continued presence in Looney Tunes' modern adaptations, like the Space Jam films, showed that their dynamic was just as relevant to new generations of fans. Tweety and Sylvester have remained central figures in the Looney Tunes world, not only for their comedic value, but also for the way their relationship represents the timeless appeal of mismatched pairings in animation. Their legacy, built on wit, slapstick, and charm, endures to this day. Fact 91: Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote were introduced in 1949, becoming one of the most beloved duos in the Looney Tunes universe. Their relationship, defined by the relentless pursuit of the Roadrunner by the Coyote, created a timeless formula for slapstick comedy. The simplicity of their dynamic, one character forever trying and failing to catch the other, made for a comedic rhythm that was both hilarious and comforting. Roadrunner's speed and Wile E. Coyote's elaborate traps became the heart of their cartoons, and their antics resonated with audiences for decades, making them a central part of the Looney Tunes legacy. Fact 92: the silent nature of Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote's cartoons was a defining feature of their comedic style. Unlike many other Looney Tunes characters, the Roadrunner and Coyote rarely spoke, relying instead on visual gags and physical comedy to carry the narrative. The lack of dialogue gave the cartoons a universal appeal, as audiences could easily follow the action regardless of language. This visual storytelling allowed the humor to transcend borders, relying on exaggerated movements, facial expressions, and the silent chase to create comedy that was both simple and effective, evoking laughter without words. Fact 93. The ACME Corporation played a key role in the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoons. The products from ACME, the company that Wile E. Coyote often used in his increasingly elaborate schemes to catch the Roadrunner, became a recurring joke. From rocket powered roller skates to giant rubber bands, the ACME products were consistently portrayed as malfunctioning or backfiring in the most dramatic and comical ways. These devices, while always failing, were essential to the humor of the cartoons, adding to the absurdity of the coyote's never ending pursuit. ACME's presence in the cartoons became one of the most iconic elements of the series. Fact 94. The Roadrunner's iconic beep beep became one of the most recognized sound effects in animation history. The simple, repetitive sound was never just a noise, it was a part of the character's personality, a swift declaration of victory over the coyote's schemes. The beep beep was always quick, efficient, and somehow taunting, reflecting Roadrunner's nature. While Wile E. Coyote would often shout in frustration or exasperation, the Roadrunner's calm, steady pace, marked by the sound of his beep beep, provided a perfect contrast to the coyote's frantic, endless chasing. Fact 95. The contrast between Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote was one of the keys to their lasting appeal. Roadrunner, despite his speed, was a quiet, almost nonchalant character. He was never flustered by the coyote's elaborate traps or attempts to catch him. In contrast, Wile E. Coyote was driven by intense frustration and desperation. The fact that the coyote always failed, no matter how many times he tried, created a sense of comedic rhythm, with each failure being funnier than the last. This balance between the calm and the chaotic became the central dynamic of their relationship and helped make their cartoons timeless. Fact 96. The visual gags in the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoons were a masterclass in slapstick humor. From exaggerated falls to the dramatic overuse of props, the physical comedy was the backbone of the series. The coyote's repeated mishaps, whether it was falling off cliffs or being crushed by his own inventions, were always executed with precise timing. The humor in these visual gags was often heightened by the fact that the characters rarely spoke. The laughter came from the absurdity of the situation and the absurdity of the coyote's persistence, making it a unique and lasting form of humor in animation. Fact 97. One of the most memorable aspects of the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoons was the lack of dialogue. While other Looney Tunes characters relied heavily on verbal humor, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote communicated through action and reaction. This made their cartoons feel more like silent films, where the comedy was purely visual. The absence of words allowed for a more universal appeal, as audiences from different cultures could enjoy the humor without needing translation. It also placed a greater emphasis on the physicality of the animation, with the exaggerated actions of the characters taking center stage. Fact 98. The failure of Wile E. Coyote's plans became an essential part of his character's development. Unlike other antagonists in Looney Tunes, Wile E. Coyote was persistent, never giving up no matter how many times he failed. His elaborate schemes, designed to capture the Roadrunner, were often creative and outlandish, showcasing the coyote's determination. However, the humor came from the fact that these plans were always doomed to fail, often in spectacular and dramatic fashion. This created a running joke that turned failure into a source of comedy, and the audience's sympathy for the coyote grew with each failure. Fact 99. Over time, Wile E. Coyote became a symbol of determination and resilience despite his repeated failures. His inability to succeed, no matter how hard he tried, turned him into a tragicomic figure. His character embodied the idea that persistence, even in the face of constant failure, could still be admirable. While his plans to catch the Roadrunner were always foiled, the coyote never gave up, and this determination was something viewers could root for. His character became an underdog hero whose repeated failures were met with a kind of appreciation for his resilience and determination. Fact 100. The Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoons are still considered one of the best examples of visual storytelling in animation. Their ability to convey humor without relying on dialogue set them apart from many other cartoons of the time. The simplicity of their premise, one character trying to catch the other, allowed the animators to focus on the comedy of motion, timing, and exaggerated physicality. Their relationship, based on pure slapstick, remains one of the most beloved and enduring in animation history, with their cartoons continuing to entertain audiences of all ages even decades after their creation. Fact 101. Yosemite Sam, introduced in 1945, is one of the most memorable and fiery characters in the Looney Tunes universe. With his exaggerated Western persona, full of bravado and bluster, Sam was designed to be a perfect foil to Bugs Bunny's calm and clever demeanor. Unlike Elmer Fudd, who was more bumbling, Yosemite Sam was aggressive, angry, and always ready for a fight. His fiery temper and his tendency to overreact made him both a fierce antagonist and a source of constant comedic relief, as his anger often resulted in his own downfall rather than his victory over Bugs. Fact 102. Yosemite Sam's distinctive voice, provided by Mel Blanc, became a defining feature of the character. His deep, gravelly voice, combined with his southern drawl and constant yelling, gave him a larger-than-life presence in Looney Tunes cartoons. Sam's exaggerated speech, particularly his frequent exclamations of, "I'm gonna get you, Rabbit," and "I'll fix you, Rabbit," became instantly recognizable. His voice was the perfect accompaniment to his fiery personality, amplifying the character's over-the-top reactions and helping to solidify his role as one of the most iconic antagonists in animation history. Fact 103. One of the most defining features of Yosemite Sam's character was his fiery temper. Sam was always on the verge of exploding, often boiling over at the slightest provocation. This made him a volatile, unpredictable character who was both menacing and humorous. His quickness to anger and his exaggerated reactions to minor annoyances were key to his humor, as audiences could always expect Sam's plans to go awry in spectacular, over-the-top ways. Whether he was chasing Bugs Bunny or simply reacting to a situation, Sam's rage provided an endless source of comedic tension in Looney Tunes cartoons. Fact 104. Yosemite Sam's visual design played a key role in conveying his personality. With his bushy red mustache, oversized hat, and outlandish Western garb, Sam was a walking caricature of a Western outlaw. His exaggerated features, such as his broad shoulders and large, menacing fists, gave him a larger-than-life presence in each scene. The simplicity and boldness of his design allowed his emotional expressions to stand out, whether he was smiling in sinister glee or fuming in rage. These visual traits helped solidify Sam's identity as a character who was both threatening and comically absurd. Fact number 5. Unlike many of the other Looney Tunes antagonists, Yosemite Sam was often depicted with a degree of cunning, using traps and elaborate schemes to try and outsmart Bugs Bunny. However, his plans always seemed to backfire, with his short temper getting the better of him. Sam's inability to control his anger was both his greatest weakness and the source of much of the humor in his cartoons. His failures, caused by his explosive reactions, made him a tragicomic figure, one that audiences could both laugh at and sympathize with. Sam's constant struggle to keep his cool became a key aspect of his appeal. Fact 106: Yosemite Sam's aggressive nature often put him at odds with Bugs Bunny, but it also created a dynamic of chaotic humor. Bugs's calm, cool demeanor stood in stark contrast to Sam's angry, reactionary behavior, which created a balance of personalities. Bugs would outwit Sam by staying level headed, using Sam's own rage and impulsiveness against him. This created a predictable pattern in their interactions. Sam would charge at Bugs in blind fury, only to end up making a fool of himself. Their cat and mouse dynamic, powered by Sam's aggression and Bugs' quick thinking, formed the basis for many memorable cartoon shorts. Fact 107: Yosemite Sam's role as an outlaw in the Wild West was both a literal and symbolic part of his character. He was often depicted as a bandit or a gunslinger, and his persona was built around the exaggerated traits of the Wild West archetype: toughness, aggression, and a need to control. Sam's presence in the Looney Tunes universe played on the popular imagery of Western heroes and villains, with him being the anti-hero trying to claim victory through force, only to be constantly thwarted by Bugs Bunny's more intellectual approach. This blend of humor and Western tropes made Sam a unique and comedic villain. His exaggerated nature poked fun at the classic Western figure, while simultaneously making him a larger-than-life character whose antics would leave viewers laughing at his misfortune. Fact 108: Yosemite Sam's anger was often played for comedic effect, as his explosive reactions to minor setbacks became a hallmark of his character. Whether he was yelling, stomping his feet, or shaking his fists in frustration, Sam's inability to control his emotions made him a walking punchline. His temper would flare at the smallest inconvenience, which often led to his own undoing. This pattern of Sam's rage turning against him created a comforting, predictable rhythm in the cartoons, where audiences could always anticipate his over-the-top reactions and laugh at the consequences of his outbursts. Fact 109: one of the most memorable episodes featuring Yosemite Sam is Hair Trigger, in which Sam attempts to get rid of Bugs by challenging him to a duel. This episode highlights Sam's hot-headedness, as he continually insists on shooting Bugs, only to be outsmarted at every turn. The cartoon plays with the traditional Western tropes of duels and gunfights, flipping them on their head with Bugs' cleverness and Sam's inability to focus. This episode, like many others featuring Sam, showcases his over-the-top aggression, which always ended in his failure, creating a classic example of Looney Tunes humor at its finest. Fact 110: despite his many flaws, Yosemite Sam's resilience and unyielding determination made him a character that audiences could respect. While he was often overpowered by Bugs' intelligence and calm demeanor, Sam never gave up on his quest to catch or defeat Bugs. His elaborate schemes, designed to capture the Roadrunner, were often creative and outlandish, showcasing the coyote's determination. However, the humor came from the fact that these plans were always doomed to fail, often in spectacular and dramatic fashion. This created a running joke that turned failure into a source of comedy, and the audience's sympathy for the coyote grew with each failure. Fact 111: Looney Tunes characters became a staple of television and film, with their reach expanding far beyond the original animated shorts. Starting in the 1950s, Looney Tunes began to appear on television in syndication, which brought them into the homes of millions of new viewers. These reruns allowed the franchise to stay relevant across multiple generations, as kids and adults alike could enjoy the timeless humor of Bugs, Daffy, Porky, and others. The success of these television broadcasts also paved the way for feature length films where the characters continued to thrive in both comedic and musical formats. In fact, 112: one of the major turning points for Looney Tunes on television came with the introduction of The Looney Tunes Show in 2011, a modernized version of the classic shorts that aimed to introduce the characters to a new generation. The show reimagined the characters in more contemporary settings, blending classic elements with new original stories and comedic situations. This reinvention helped maintain the franchise's relevance in a changing entertainment landscape and allowed younger audiences to engage with the characters in a way that felt fresh while still retaining the core spirit of the original cartoons. Fact 113: Looney Tunes continued to thrive not only in television but also in the world of feature films. In 1996, the beloved characters starred alongside NBA legend Michael Jordan in the groundbreaking movie Space Jam. This live action just animation hybrid brought together the classic characters of Looney Tunes and a modern sports star, creating a film that was both a commercial and cultural success. Space Jam introduced the characters to a new generation, making them relevant again. The film's success led to the 2021 sequel, Space Jam: A New Legacy, which featured NBA superstar LeBron James, continuing the legacy of Looney Tunes on the big screen. Fact 114: the success of Looney Tunes on television and in film was also influenced by its ability to adapt to different formats. Beyond feature films and series, the characters found their way into comic books, video games, and merchandise. The characters' universal appeal meant they could easily transition into these other mediums while maintaining their core personalities. For example, Bugs Bunny became a prominent figure in various video game franchises, and the merchandise, ranging from action figures to clothing, brought the characters to a new generation of fans. This continued expansion helped Looney Tunes stay relevant in an ever-changing entertainment world. Fact 115: the cultural impact of Looney Tunes cannot be overstated. Over the decades, Looney Tunes' characters and catchphrases became ingrained in popular culture. Bugs Bunny's "What's up, Doc?" and Daffy Duck's "You're despicable" became iconic phrases that transcended their original context. These lines have been quoted by fans, referenced in other media, and used in everyday conversation. The catchphrases became shorthand for certain personalities: Bugs for cool confidence, and Daffy for absurdity. This penetration into the everyday lexicon cemented the Looney Tunes' place in the hearts of fans, young and old, as characters who are synonymous with timeless humor. Fact 116: Looney Tunes that didn't just influence popular culture in terms of language, its visual style also made a lasting impact on animation. The exaggerated movements and elastic animation techniques used in Looney Tunes, particularly through characters like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Elmer Fudd, helped shape the evolution of animation itself. These techniques influenced later animated works, from classic Disney films to modern animated television shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy. Looney Tunes set a precedent for the energetic, exaggerated style that became a hallmark of animation, and its influence is still felt in animated works today. Fact 117: Looney Tunes also influenced the way animated series approached humor. The combination of fast paced physical comedy, witty dialogue, and visual gags became a template for many other animated shows that followed. The use of slapstick in Looney Tunes cartoons, which often relied on exaggerated actions and improbable scenarios, set the stage for later animated series that use similar styles to entertain both kids and adults. Shows like Tom and Jerry, Ren and Stimpy, and even more modern animations like Adventure Time owe a great deal to the slapstick and visual comedy pioneered by Looney Tunes. Fact 118: the success of Looney Tunes in television syndication played a huge role in its continued popularity across different generations. Once the classic shorts were made available to a broader audience, thanks to syndication in the 1950s, families could enjoy the cartoons together, with reruns becoming a staple of after school programming. This broad exposure introduced the beloved characters to a new generation of viewers, ensuring that Looney Tunes remained relevant long after its original theatrical releases. The continued airing of the cartoons on television ensured that the characters stayed a constant part of pop culture. Fact 119: Looney Tunes characters also enjoyed success in advertising with their iconic personalities used to promote everything from cereal to cars. The commercials featuring characters like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck were incredibly popular, capitalizing on the characters' widespread appeal. Bugs Bunny, in particular, became a popular figure in advertisements, lending his laid back charm to everything from car commercials to fast food promotions. This cross industry presence helped to solidify Looney Tunes' place in the cultural zeitgeist, making them not just cartoon characters, but symbols of humor and nostalgia that appeared in everyday life. Fact 120: the enduring legacy of Looney Tunes is one that continues to influence animation and entertainment as a whole. From their classic shorts to modern revivals and feature films, the characters have remained beloved icons across generations. Their influence is felt in countless other animated shows, films, and even pop culture references, with new generations discovering the timeless humor and wit of Bugs, Daffy, and the rest of the gang. The characters' ability to adapt to new formats and connect with audiences of all ages ensures that the Looney Tunes franchise will remain a significant part of entertainment history for years to come. Fact 121: Looney Tunes has had an undeniable impact on pop culture, influencing not only animation, but also movies, and television, and even music. The iconic characters, especially Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Porky Pig, have become embedded in the collective consciousness. These characters' catchphrases, like "What's up, Doc?" and "You're despicable," have transcended their original context and entered everyday conversations. Their influence can be seen in countless references across different mediums, from modern animated TV shows to live action films, where Looney Tunes characters or their catchphrases are often parodied or referenced. The franchise has become a universal symbol of animated humor. Fact 122: the influence of Looney Tunes in television is profound, particularly in shows that followed its slapstick and energetic style of animation. The Simpsons is one of the best examples, as the series often references Looney Tunes, both in visual style and in character archetypes. Homer Simpson's bumbling nature can be traced back to Elmer Fudd's failures, while the exaggerated comedic timing shares its roots in the antics of Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. Even the pacing of The Simpsons, with its rapid fire gags and physical humor, owes much to the influence of Looney Tunes' unique approach to animation and comedy. Fact 123: Looney Tunes' visual humor also inspired other animated series that thrive on exaggerated physical comedy. Shows like Ren and Stimpy, SpongeBob SquarePants, and Family Guy all incorporate the slapstick humor that Looney Tunes made famous. The over the top reactions, wild movements, and absurd physical situations in these series directly mirror the style of Looney Tunes cartoons. The use of exaggerated gestures, stretching bodies, and absurd visual gags that Looney Tunes pioneered became the blueprint for many animation studios looking to capture that same wild, energetic comedic spirit. Fact 124: beyond animation, Looney Tunes' influence can be seen in the world of music, particularly in the use of classical music in animation. The famous What's Opera, Doc? Cartoon, where Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny parody Wagner's operas, introduced many young viewers to classical music in a way that was fun, accessible, and hilarious. The humor in blending high culture with slapstick comedy was brilliant and educational, leading to an appreciation of music that many viewers would carry with them. This approach to combining entertainment and education became a hallmark for other animated films and shows. Fact 125: the iconic soundtracks and themes of Looney Tunes were also a significant contribution to popular culture. Composers like Carl Stalling created memorable musical scores that matched the pace and energy of the cartoons. The music in Looney Tunes is often as lively and dynamic as the characters themselves, creating a seamless blend of visual and auditory comedy. These themes have since become synonymous with the franchise, and the tunes are instantly recognizable, even outside the context of the cartoons. Many modern films and TV shows have drawn inspiration from the vibrant, fast paced scores that characterize Looney Tunes. Fact 126: Looney Tunes also helped to redefine the idea of humor in animation by mixing absurdity with intelligence. The show's ability to appeal to both children and adults was revolutionary at the time. Cartoons like Duck Amuck and What's Opera, Doc? Not only entertained young audiences, but also engaged older viewers with their clever references, cultural commentary, and sometimes even philosophical undertones. The ability to entertain multiple generations with the same content was a key factor in Looney Tunes' long lasting success and continues to influence the way animated series are made to this day. Fact 127: another aspect of Looney Tunes' pop culture influence is the merchandise it spawned, which helped the characters reach even more people. From t shirts to lunchboxes to video games, Looney Tunes characters were everywhere. The franchise turned its characters into household names, making them accessible outside of the television screen. These products allowed fans of all ages to connect with the Looney Tunes characters on a personal level, further embedding them in everyday life. The wide availability of merchandise ensured that the franchise would remain a constant presence in pop culture for years to come. Fact 128. The relationship between Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck is one of the most enduring aspects of Looney Tunes, symbolizing the contrast between the calm, clever hero and the impulsive, self centered anti hero. This dynamic has inspired countless pairings in later animation, from the relationship between Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck to the quirky dynamic of Ren and Stimpy. Their interactions, which often saw Bugs outsmarting Daffy, demonstrated that opposites in comedy can create endless possibilities for humor. The tension between the two has remained a defining trait of their partnership, making it one of the most iconic duos in animation history. Fact 129. Looney Tunes has had a significant influence on animated feature films, particularly in the way they blend different styles of humor. The Space Jam films, for example, took the characters of Looney Tunes and introduced them to a live action world, merging the world of sports and animation in a groundbreaking way. The blend of live action and animation in Space Jam allowed the characters to reach an even wider audience, bringing the franchise into the world of mainstream films. This fusion of animation and live action also paved the way for future hybrid films, such as Who Framed Roger Rabbit and The Simpsons movie. Fact 130. Looney Tunes' legacy continues to grow through its ongoing presence in contemporary media. The franchise has been rebooted in various forms, including digital series and new animated shorts. The characters continue to be featured in video games, theme parks, and streaming platforms, ensuring that the brand remains relevant. As new generations discover Looney Tunes, they continue to shape the way humor is incorporated into modern animation. The timeless appeal of characters like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck ensures that Looney Tunes will remain an important part of the entertainment landscape for years to come. Fact 131. Looney Tunes' influence on the animation industry cannot be overstated. The franchise introduced several innovative techniques that set new standards for how cartoons were made. For example, the use of squash and stretch, where characters' bodies were exaggerated and stretched in ways that defied physics, became a key animation technique in the industry. This fluidity of movement helped characters like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck seem more alive, adding a dynamic quality to their performances. This technique became foundational for animators everywhere and continues to be a staple in modern animation today, proving the lasting legacy of Looney Tunes in shaping the craft. Fact 132. Looney Tunes also popularized the timing of comedic beats in animation, teaching animators that humor often comes not just from the gags themselves, but from their pacing. The timing of action, from a slapstick fall to a perfectly timed line of dialogue, is something Looney Tunes mastered early on. The rapid fire jokes, physical gags, and smooth transitions between scenes created a rhythm in the cartoons that felt almost musical. This sense of timing became a cornerstone of animated comedy, influencing not only other cartoon series, but also live action comedies and sitcoms that would later borrow from Looney Tunes' pace and structure. Fact 133. One of the greatest contributions of Looney Tunes to animation was the creation of memorable, larger than life characters who transcended their individual cartoons to become icons. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Porky Pig were not just animated figures, they became cultural touchstones, instantly recognizable to people around the world. This iconic status helped shape the way characters are developed in animation, with future creators looking to Looney Tunes for inspiration. The ability to create characters who resonated so deeply with audiences, both in personality and design, set a new standard for character development in animation that is still followed today. Fact 134: the use of music in Looney Tunes was another revolutionary aspect of the franchise. Composers like Carl Stalling and Milt Franklin incorporated classical music, jazz, and original scores into the cartoons, making the soundtracks an integral part of the storytelling. In many cases, the music was so tightly synchronized with the action that it became as much a character in the cartoons as the animation itself. The ability to blend music with comedy so seamlessly has influenced countless films and TV shows. Today, many animated series continue to use music in a similar way, creating an emotional connection between the audience and the story. Fact 135: Looney Tunes' comedic style and the characters' quick wit helped redefine the nature of humor in animation. Whereas previous animated works had focused on simpler, more slapstick humor, Looney Tunes introduced a sharp, fast paced style of comedy that combined physical gags with clever dialogue and wordplay. Bugs Bunny's ability to outwit his foes with clever lines and calm responses to chaos set a precedent for the type of smart humor that animated series would later adopt. Shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy would later rely on a similar mix of visual and verbal humor inspired by Looney Tunes' innovative approach. Fact 136: another way Looney Tunes influenced animation was through its groundbreaking use of animation techniques. The series employed a variety of visual tricks, from exaggerated facial expressions to warped perspectives that created comedic effects never before seen in animation. For instance, Bugs Bunny's famous nonchalant chewing of a carrot while navigating dangerous situations became iconic, with the physical movement of the character being exaggerated for comedic effect. The series demonstrated that animation didn't need to follow the rules of reality, opening up a world of possibilities for animators to experiment with motion, perspective, and surreal humor. Fact 137: Looney Tunes also helped shape the art of storytelling in animation. The shorts were not only funny, but often had subtle underlying themes that reflected societal issues or universal truths, albeit through a comedic lens. Bugs Bunny's interactions with authority figures, like Elmer Fudd or Yosemite Sam, often mirrored the challenges of defying authority in a humorous but relatable way. This ability to infuse humor with more thoughtful commentary gave Looney Tunes a timeless quality. Later animated series, including many adult oriented cartoons, would also incorporate social commentary and subtle humor, following the path laid by Looney Tunes in blending comedy with deeper themes. Fact 138: the character design of Looney Tunes characters set new standards for the animation industry. Designers like Chuck Jones and Friz Freleng created characters with exaggerated features and movements, turning them into instantly recognizable figures. For example, Bugs Bunny's elongated ears and cheeky smile became central to his persona, while Daffy Duck's angular design and sharp beak defined his eccentricity. These bold design choices were not just about visual appeal, they helped convey the characters' personalities. Looney Tunes' influence on character design can be seen in modern animation, where characters are often designed with distinct features that visually communicate their traits and quirks. Fact 139. Looney Tunes was also one of the first animated franchises to introduce the idea of animation as a global cultural export. The cartoons were so popular in the United States that they were eventually distributed worldwide, becoming beloved in countries around the globe. Whether it was in Europe, South America, or Asia, Looney Tunes characters were adopted by different cultures, transcending language barriers. The universal appeal of these characters, combined with their comedic timing and physical humor, ensured their place in global pop culture. This international success paved the way for future animated franchises to reach audiences far beyond their home countries. Fact 140. The legacy of Looney Tunes in animation continues to influence contemporary creators, with the franchise remaining an essential part of the entertainment world. Today, the characters still appear in modern films, commercials, and video games, introducing them to new audiences while keeping them relevant to older generations. The franchise's ability to adapt to changing times while maintaining its core identity of clever humor and timeless characters is a testament to its enduring impact. Looney Tunes set a precedent for the way animated characters can become cultural icons, influencing everything from animation styles to storytelling techniques. Fact 141. Looney Tunes' approach to visual humor and exaggerated animation techniques set a blueprint for future animation studios. One of the most significant influences was the creation of characters who relied on quick wit, physical gags, and exaggerated facial expressions. This became a defining element in cartoons created by studios like Hanna-Barbera and Nickelodeon. In particular, shows like Tom and Jerry, Hanna-Barbera, and Ren and Stimpy, Nickelodeon, borrowed heavily from Looney Tunes' blend of slapstick humor, high energy pacing, and exaggerated physicality. These shows took the Looney Tunes template and molded it into their own style, continuing the legacy of animated physical comedy. Fact 142. Looney Tunes' influence on the comic timing in animation cannot be understated. Its rapid-fire gags and ability to turn slapstick into high art set a standard that many studios followed. For example, Pixar Animation Studios owes much of its success to the rhythm of jokes and the physical precision established by Looney Tunes. Pixar's Toy Story and The Incredibles showcase their characters' quick exchanges, both verbally and physically, reminiscent of how Looney Tunes balanced verbal wit with slapstick. Looney Tunes not only changed how we viewed animation, but also influenced the precision needed to create a seamless comedic rhythm in animated films. Fact 143. The idea of revolving around a central character with a unique personality trait became a key element in animated series inspired by Looney Tunes. Characters like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck were defined by their quirks, which made them instantly recognizable and relatable. Later animated shows like The Simpsons, Futurama, and Family Guy also created strong, quirky personalities for their characters. Homer Simpson's bumbling, childish nature, or Peter Griffin's impulsive, often reckless behavior are both modern parallels to the exaggerated traits of Looney Tunes characters. These traits help define each character, making them instantly recognizable and relatable to the audience. Fact 144. Looney Tunes' approach to satirical humor influenced a generation of animation studios that sought to blend comedy with commentary. The cartoons often poked fun at societal norms, institutions, and pop culture, even before it became the norm in animated series. Shows like South Park and The Boondocks borrowed the concept of using animation to critique real world issues. Looney Tunes, especially through its parody of Western tropes and authority figures, created an environment where humor was used to subvert expectations. The bold, satirical approach of Looney Tunes paved the way for more adult animation that blends entertainment with social critique. Fact 145. The lasting appeal of the Looney Tunes characters has made them some of the most enduring icons in pop culture. Future animation studios, such as DreamWorks and Illumination, have drawn on the timeless quality of characters like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck to create their own iconic figures. Characters from Shrek, like Donkey and Shrek himself, and the minions from Despicable Me, can trace their roots to the dynamic characters of Looney Tunes. Like Bugs and Daffy, these characters rely on their distinct personalities, humor, and universal appeal to capture the hearts of audiences around the world. Fact 146. Looney Tunes also demonstrated that animation could be a vehicle for storytelling beyond mere children's entertainment. By combining complex animation techniques, creative characters, and engaging stories, the franchise proved that cartoons could engage both children and adults. This approach inspired the creation of animated shows with deeper narratives aimed at older audiences, such as The Simpsons and Rick and Morty. These shows also balanced slapstick humor with more sophisticated storylines and character development, following in the footsteps of Looney Tunes, which had proven that animated humor could be layered, thought provoking, and deeply entertaining for all ages. Fact 147. The use of classical music in Looney Tunes cartoons, most notably in What's Opera Doc, changed how animated films and series could incorporate music. The cartoon fused Wagner's opera with slapstick comedy, elevating the animation to a level that had never been done before. This approach inspired other studios to use classical music to enhance their animated films. In movies like Fantasia and The Iron Giant, classical scores were employed to create emotional depth and narrative structure. Looney Tunes proved that music, when paired with animation, could elevate the art form, offering audiences both a visual and auditory experience. And 48. Looney Tunes' characters were built around exaggerated personalities and visual characteristics, a trait that was adopted by future animation studios looking to create memorable characters. The boldness of each character's design made them instantly identifiable and allowed for unique comedic moments. For example, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles characters are instantly identifiable due to their specific traits, Leonardo's leadership, Donatello's intelligence, etc. Similarly, Looney Tunes characters like Bugs Bunny's cleverness and Daffy Duck's over the top selfishness set a precedent for creating characters whose defining traits fueled the humor. This idea became a key feature of animated storytelling in future series. Fact 149. The iconic nature of Looney Tunes' short format was also a huge influence on future animated series. The franchise's cartoons were concise, typically running no longer than 7 minutes, which forced the writers to pack a punch in terms of both storytelling and humor. This format became a model for future TV animation, with many animated series following a similar structure. Shows like SpongeBob SquarePants and Adventure Time adopted the short format, where quick, impactful jokes and self contained storylines could be told in just a few minutes, ensuring that every moment counted toward advancing the humor and narrative. Fact 150. Looney Tunes has remained a cultural touchstone for over 8 decades. The characters are so ingrained in popular culture that they continue to influence everything from advertising to social media memes. Their faces and catchphrases appear in everything from car commercials to viral internet content. New generations continue to discover Looney Tunes, whether through streaming platforms, merchandise, or their references in other media. Looney Tunes proved that timeless characters, clever humor, and universally relatable themes could continue to resonate for decades, solidifying the franchise's place as one of the most enduring and beloved animated series of all time. Fact 151: the legacy of Looney Tunes continues to endure and evolve with modern adaptations and reboots. Over the years, the franchise has reinvented itself through different generations, always finding ways to stay relevant while maintaining its original charm. From the classic shorts to the Looney Tunes show in 2011 and the Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max, these modern iterations have introduced the characters to new audiences, keeping the heart of Looney Tunes alive. Even in the digital age, the characters remain beloved, and the franchise continues to be an essential part of animated entertainment for audiences of all ages. Fact 152: one of the key reasons for Looney Tunes' enduring popularity is its ability to adapt to the times. While the original cartoons were reflective of the social and cultural norms of their era, the franchise has continued to evolve, staying current with modern sensibilities. Whether through the modern design of the characters, updated animation techniques, or incorporating contemporary humor, Looney Tunes has successfully navigated the changing landscape of entertainment. This adaptability allows the franchise to remain both timeless and timely, engaging new generations of fans while still honoring its rich history in animation. Fact 153: the global reach of Looney Tunes has played a significant role in its longevity. The franchise's universal humor, which combines visual gags with clever dialogue, transcends language and cultural barriers. Looney Tunes' ability to connect with audiences around the world has led to widespread recognition of characters like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Tweety Bird. Whether through cartoons, merchandise, or films, these characters are recognized across different cultures, and the franchise's influence can be seen in countless countries. This international appeal has ensured that Looney Tunes remains one of the most enduring animation franchises worldwide. Pick 154. Looney Tunes' continued presence in video games has helped maintain its relevance in modern media. Over the years, characters from the franchise have appeared in a variety of video games, ranging from platformers to sports games, ensuring that the franchise reaches new generations of fans through interactive experiences. The release of Looney Tunes video games, such as Looney Tunes, Back in Action, and the Looney Tunes B-Ball series, brought the beloved characters into the gaming world, allowing fans to engage with them in a new format. This modern presence in gaming has solidified Looney Tunes as part of contemporary pop culture. Fact 155: in addition to video games, Looney Tunes' legacy continues through its presence in theme parks, where visitors can experience the franchise through attractions, shows, and merchandise. Many theme parks, including those in the Disney and Warner Brothers studios, feature Looney Tunes characters in parades, rides, and performances. These interactive experiences bring the classic characters to life in a fun and immersive way, creating lasting memories for fans of all ages. Looney Tunes' presence in these parks has kept the characters alive and well in the hearts of visitors, further cementing the franchise's global legacy. Fact 156. The Looney Tunes legacy has also been carried forward by various spin off series, which have brought the characters into new contexts. Shows like Tiny Toon Adventures, 1990s, and the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, 1995 2001, introduced a fresh generation to the Looney Tunes universe. These spin offs, which featured younger versions of the classic characters or explored different storytelling formats, allowed the franchise to stay relevant and expand its audience. Through these series, Looney Tunes reached a new generation of viewers, proving that the characters' charm and humor could be enjoyed in new and creative ways. Fact 157. The ongoing success of Looney Tunes merchandise has played a major role in keeping the franchise alive. From toys and clothing to collector's items and limited edition art, Looney Tunes characters are still widely sold around the world. Fans continue to purchase memorabilia featuring their favorite characters, keeping the franchise relevant and visible in everyday life. The extensive range of Looney Tunes themed products, often tapping into nostalgia while appealing to new fans, has helped ensure that the franchise remains an integral part of popular culture, even decades after its original debut. Fact 158. Looney Tunes has always been at the forefront of innovative animation techniques, and even today, modern animators continue to be inspired by its groundbreaking work. The franchise's bold, exaggerated animation style, especially its use of exaggerated motion and comedic timing, remains a standard in the animation industry. Whether it's in the smooth transitions of modern animated films or the vibrant, energetic pace of current animated shows, Looney Tunes' influence can still be seen in how action is choreographed and how humor is crafted. The principles established in the classic shorts continue to inspire animators worldwide. Fact 159. The impact of Looney Tunes on other animation studios has been profound. Major animation studios like Pixar, DreamWorks, and Nickelodeon have drawn heavily on the character-driven, slapstick comedy that Looney Tunes perfected. These studios, while developing their own unique styles, have incorporated elements of the Looney Tunes formula, especially in their character designs and use of exaggerated physical humor. The creative freedom seen in Looney Tunes, where anything could happen for comedic effect, continues to influence modern animated films and series, showing just how far reaching the legacy of the franchise truly is. Fact 160. As we come to the end of our journey through the history of Looney Tunes, it's clear that the franchise's influence will continue to shape the future of animation. From the beloved characters to the innovative animation techniques, Looney Tunes has left an indelible mark on the entertainment world. Its timeless humor, iconic characters, and groundbreaking contributions to animation ensure that it will remain a significant part of pop culture for generations to come. Looney Tunes proved that animation can be more than just entertainment. It can be a powerful force for cultural impact, creativity, and lasting joy. As we reach the end of our journey through the Looney Tunes legacy, we reflect on the timeless humor, the unforgettable characters, and the profound impact this franchise has had on animation and pop culture. From Bugs Bunny's clever wit to Yosemite Sam's fiery temper, these characters have been with us for decades, continuing to bring laughter and joy to each new generation. May the spirit of these cartoons continue to inspire, bringing a smile to your face no matter how old you are. Thank you for joining me on this delightful journey through the antics and adventures of Looney Tunes. May your dreams be filled with laughter and the whimsical magic of these iconic characters. Good night.